You have not seen what I have seen.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and this was absolutely predictable. I woke up today to about a half dozen, maybe a full dozen of articles that included terminology like toxic or racist or trolls or any way to basically at any cost, at all cost, minimize the very real criticism that The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power on Amazon is facing. Now, I, for one, understand the deep Tolkien lore fandom and why they think the show is a 1 or a 2 out of 10. I think the average normie person that watched Lord of the Rings and just was like looking for more Lord of the Rings, even most of their reviews are like 5, 6 area. There are a few people like my ever-optimistic editor who thought it was a 7 or an 8, but, he's just lofty. We just let him do his thing because bless his heart. But now it's just so predictable. It's like, oh, if you don't like it, oh, you don't like black people. I mean, we're going to take a look at an article literally saying that. And let's just get into it. I'm not going to do any sponsors in this video, but I am going to remind people. A side note, we have opened our ambassador/affiliate program over at Coffee Brand Coffee. You can earn up to 10% depending on your volume for referring people to Coffee Brand Coffee. On top of that, you will always get a cut of all reoccurring orders from your customers. Hardly anyone does that. So you can actually build up a really nice revenue stream. If you go to the Coffee Brand Coffee website, you can sign up at the ambassador affiliate program and get going right away. If you're not interested in that, we've got our fall as frick spiked jack-o'-lantern pre-order going on now. Shipping starts next week. Make sure you get in on that. Our K-Cup pre-orders are double caffeinated, which is flying off the shelves, cold brews, all that kind of stuff. CoffeeBrandCoffee.com. I would really love to earn your business. Amazon is deploying its own anti-troll weapons to protect the Rings of Power. Prime Video has now instituted a 72-hour review delay to screen out the most vocal and potentially bad faith critics of Lord of the Rings show. So now they were getting too many negative reviews, so they just said, gotta wait 72 hours. Well, do you hear that, bad faith reviewers out there? That means on Monday, you'll be able to review Amazon's Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. So make sure you remember to do that. You know how it is. You can't spend much time in Middle-earth without having to fend off some vicious trolls. That's right. Anybody who gives a negative review to the show is, of course, a troll. We knew this. We know this. And you know this. Man, Amazon released the first 2 episodes of its Lord of the Rings TV show onto its Prime Video service this weekend, which means this global supergiant has also subjected the series to the vicissitudes of the Amazon review process. Vicissitudes, geez. With all its pesky stars and vocal feedback and such, that's something of a problem. So far, the series has been targeted pretty heavily overall the last several months, both by skeptics and outright bad faith arguers. Well, definitely nobody couldn't just not like the show, with the latter seemingly incensed at the show's inclusion of black actors playing elves and dwarves. Yes, that's all of the criticism can just be summed up into black people, right? That's what all the criticism. Not the fact that Galadriel is somehow some super soldier with a sword, even though most people know her as a super powerful sorceress. She's a Mary Sue and a Karen. Definitely extremely unlikable. Oh, but that character's white? Wait a minute. I thought people were only criticizing the black characters. In fact, really, the black characters themselves in the show are just as uninteresting as everyone else. I think the criticism was just that, hey, you know, what happened to all these black characters by the third age? Because they were all gone. Something awful must have happened in Middle-earth that Amazon doesn't want to address. As it turns out, Amazon appears to have been ready for this. Variety reports tonight that the company recently, i.e. around the time of its release, updated the TV version of A League of Their Own. Garbage also. It instituted a delayed vetting process for reviews of its TV shows. A representative for Amazon Prime has confirmed the change. Reviews will now be held for 72 hours before being codified, during which time they'll presumably be checked to see if the reviewer in question had actually watched the show or if they're just being very mad online. Wow, I think they're going to be shocked to see how many people who did in fact watch the show and reviewed it very poorly. Basically, everyone that I know that reviewed the show poorly watched it. You know, I guess they could be just outright lying about watching it. It's possible. I'm sure it exists. But I think Amazon's going to be a little concerned with how many people actually watched the show and also didn't like it. Also, this is extremely concerning because what Amazon is doing, essentially, is allowing themselves to scrub negative reviews. Do you think, just hypothetically, you're Jeff Bezos, right? You're bald-headed billionaire who bought an entire newspaper just to slam Elon Musk. Do you think that they will have the same rigorous, pass the muster testing for those sweet 10 out of 10 reviews? I don't think they will. I think there's going to be a lot of 10 out of 10s and 9 out of 10 that are just going to go right through. And we've seen on places like IMDb that it's very often as many, if not more, perfect 10 out of 10s that the show gets when it's obviously not a 10 out of 10 to the dreaded 1 out of 10s who are all trolls. Now, I don't know what you call these I guess we call them bots or consumers that just give a 10 out of 10. Like Lord of the Rings of Power is not a 10 out of 10, but it has 17,000 10 out of 10 reviews on IMDb compared to 14,000 1 out of 10s last time I looked. The show's not a 10 out of 10. Any idiot could tell you that. Even the strongest consumer on the planet would not give the show a 10 out of 10. But you never see articles complaining about that. Of course, that only applies to reviews on Amazon's own storefront. Rest assured that those looking to take out the Shire ire will have plenty of outlets. Look no further than Rotten Tomato, where the show enjoys an 84% fresh rating. That's not that good. And a 33% rotten. Well, I see 36, so it must have gone up a little bit. This is 12,500 reviews. This isn't exactly a small sample size, you know? And then, of course, we see a racist backlash to Rings of Power puts Token's legacy into focus. There's an article written yesterday. What? They're just, I swear to God, sometimes they just add more diversity to these shows to use it as a shield. Am I crazy to think that? Like, oh, Batwoman has terrible writing, but the actress is a Jewish gay woman. You can't criticize her. And then nobody was criticizing her. People were making fun of the show. She quit. So they're like, well, let's hire a POC BIPOC who's also, a black LGBTQ member. You can't criticize the show. We have this armor. When most people who watch a show were not criticizing the fact that what the character's skin color was. It was all about the hilarious, terrible writing. But you get this entire article in the Hollywood Reporter. Yeah, that's why everyone hates it. A black dwarf. That's why everyone hates it. It's definitely not the litany of things, the ridiculously slow pacing, the plot armor, the changing known things to Token fans, the Karening, the Mary Sueing of Galadriel, the boring Harfoots. These, by the way, none of these characters are black. You know what I mean? Like, none of these things have to do with the skin color. The ridiculously slow pacing, and it is not a slow burn. It is just slow, a slog. That doesn't have anything to do with the skin color of any of the actors or actresses. Let's ignore all of that if we're a Hollywood Reporter, right? Well, let's just ignore all of that and say more racism. That's what this entire article is about. It's absolutely pathetic. CNN, when wokeness comes to Middle-earth, why some say diverse casting ruins the new Lord of the Rings series. Again, it doesn't. Nobody's saying that. There's like 3 people who are like token purists who are like, look, this is the way it was written. And I do not, without respect, I reject, so to speak. And that's fine. But most people, 99% of the actual people who dislike the show are not hating it because of my diversity. It's because the show stinks so far. And its stinking has nothing to do with the race of any of the characters. It's extremely disingenuous to say this. Here's another article. AV Club. Oh, I hit that one. Here's a Hollywood Reporter. More racism. Here's CNN. More racism. The Rings of Power is already getting review brigaded for identity politics. Here's a... and I could go on and on and on. The Lord of the Rings is not pushing a woke agenda. Yes, it is. Oh, it absolutely is, Eric. And I know you. I like Eric. He has good takes. Or Eric Kane over at Forbes. But like, look, you can have strong, independent female characters. This is the thing. They screw it up so bad though, because they're like, well, we got to have a strong, independent female character. There's not enough of them. Aliens never existed. Terminator never existed. Metroid never existed. All these things never existed. Tomb Raider never existed until we, the Zoomers at Amazon, we invented the strong female character. But then they go too far. They just cannot help themselves. They're like, oh, well, obviously Galadriel has to have 0 flaws. She has to be able to flawless victory snow ice trolls while her men cower in fear. I mean, it's instead of having her struggle and earn it or work as a team. No. She has to be OP. And it's like they're so dumb that they can't see that this is the problem. Nobody had any problem with Galadriel and her many BA moments in the Lord of the Rings trilogies, or any of the other female characters. It's because it felt natural and not like, oh, you guys can't defeat Sauron? Well, with a flick of my wrist, I'll defeat him. Like, that's how they write it. And that's why it sucks. Remember to head on over to coffeebrandcoffee.com today. We have something for everybody, and I would absolutely love, if nothing else, for you to check out the reviews because they are stellar and they are not from trolls. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hit that red subscribe button down below if you did, and we'll talk to you again real soon.